missed the most important part, why Amber had only taken one shot. She had torn a tendon in her shooting hand.
Are you serious?
And it was torn when she took that shot. It was all taped up, you could look at it.
That just even adds more to the lesson,
You're
right?
correct.
She had
I'd forgotten about that, you're right.
Was it the week before?
It was in practice, it was screwing around. This is why you don't screw around in practice. But it had done something and got her caught in the net. And didn't, I mean, it hurt. She didn't know that she had hurt it obviously that bad. And she had her fingers taped.
In her shooting hand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Had surgery on it right after the game.
After the season was over, yeah.
You know, I don't even know if I can remember. It was just, everything just was always happening, and I might have been exhausted enough that I don't know. We woke up early, I remember that. But I had 2 young girls too, and so I was dealing with them too.
How old were they at the time?
See, in 2000, they would have been 10 and 8.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all exciting. And we had brought, my sister's kids are all the same age, so I had drug them with us, and then our kids' best friends with us. So we had this whole group of kids with us. So it was just all this, you know, excitement the whole time for them. Oh, they were amped up. They were all in front of me, because there was a whole crew of them.
Yeah.
And cheering. They were all into it. You couldn't have drugged them away from it.
Yeah, I think if you know, during some of the timeouts when they kept the camera going or whatever, a couple of times they showed them. I can remember Casey one time, you know, she's only 8 years old. She's fanning herself and sitting down looking at the scoreboard and
resting.
Yeah.
We met in college. Actually, it was kind of a weird thing. I was a senior in high school and my sister was at Manchester. She came home and she said, "You're not going to believe this. I found the most perfect guy for you." She goes, "When you come to college next year, you can meet him." It was him, but we didn't date in college. No. Nope.
Oh, huh?
By the time I got there, he had another girlfriend, so we just became friends.
Yes, we did.
And stayed friends for college, and then after graduation...
After I graduated, you were still in school.
I was a senior.
Now, did you play sports?
Volleyball.
Yeah.
And we were good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You weren't the 2 and 20.
Yeah. We won the conference, and we did everything. In fact, I always make fun because my picture's in it. The gymnasium at Manchester.
Mine's not.
Mine is. We had gotten married, and that was it. He was subbing, teaching, and I thought, okay, he has to have a job. So I said, okay. When Alice called, she said, "Well, can he do this?" And I said, "He'll do whatever you want. Just give him a job." And that's how it went. Just easy.
No. Like that?
No. But he's a good coach. He always tells me I'm biased. I said, "I'm not biased on anything else, so I wouldn't be biased on that. I'd tell you if you were bad."
Yeah, her and Perry told me how bad I was doing that.
Yeah, we did. But no, sports were always a part of my life too. And so I think even being together, you know, summer softball leagues or anything like that with him and stuff like that. So it just carried on. Not usually.
Yeah.
That one was a really rough year. And it was really getting depressed and really hard to even deal, because usually he tries to keep sports over here, home and family over here. And it was starting to mix. And I said, "You know what? You've got these Southmore girls. If you're going to lose, play the girls that are giving you 110%, that have that drive. The older girls, you know, if they went shopping and skipped a practice, it was okay. No, that's not how it is." So I said, "Give him a shot." And he actually listened to me. You know, I almost think I was to his point. We made it this far. This is better than anything. You know, a red ring is just as fine as a blue at this point. And I think you get to that level, it's like, oh, okay, that's okay. We've done okay. But then when Missy hit those, it just kind of, you know, put it over the edge. It's like, we might win. There's a chance we could win this.
Remember, we should have won that in regulation. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Disbelief, especially because I knew Amber had that torn tendon, and she didn't shop, you know, and she's only a sophomore, and she's so quiet and timid, and you just didn't think that was going to happen. And I think I was just shocked. I don't think and then I started crying, and my whole family made fun of me, but
I don't blame you. I mean, it's pretty emotional.
It was.
You know?
And I think she was actually sitting by one of my other former players, Holly Schutzel, Holly Grossman.
I was sitting right
so.
beside her. And so we were kind of in shock. That was part of the tradition. Everything, you know, his superstition. Holly had sat by me through a lot of games. So when we got our state tickets, I said, Holly has to sit right beside me. And
Well,
Roger was doing the game.
I don't think, were they?
Roger and Rita did the game.
Yeah, I know, but were they dating even then? They must have been by then, weren't they? I don't know.
think so.
I'm not sure when they got married, actually. I mean, because Rita and Roger did all the games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was, Roger had saved me. He made me a copy of the broadcast, which is interesting to listen to and listen to their perspective versus watching it on the TV part of it. So because they're obviously more intimate with who the girls are, know the girls much better than the other two that were doing them for the first time. So it was, it's kind of cool after Amber hit that shot. Both of them could hardly say anything because they teared
Silent.
up. It was really neat.
Not bad. We lived in Napanee, so he always had that 25-minute drive home by himself, which was always good because then usually by the time he got home, it was okay. But I thought that from the beginning. That's when we were sophomores. I said that's a great group. I drug all of our two girls to practices and games, and we were always with them. Well, half of them were related, so that probably helped. So they got along a little bit better probably than other girls because they were their cousins.
There is that. Yeah.
They weren't bickering about anything with each other, so it worked out really well. Yeah. I don't know, that whole trip, I mean, especially getting sectionals, regionals, semi-state, all at home, that whole time was really incredible. Mm-hmm. Just with the community. The community is probably the best of everything and the whole thing of that. I'd never seen it without one. So that was a shock to me too. But it was okay. It was weird. I said grow it back right away.
Well, my hair was supposed to be blonde and it turned out to be like
red,
orangish, reddish color. So
So you had to live with that for a while, or did you go?
It was worth it. Anything to fire the girls up with it will do.
Yeah.
I didn't care. There's a little secret in all that too. In one of the pictures I have, the girls, my daughters are holding up a pair of underwear, and I asked Rita Price, "What are these about?" It was part of the news, thing that they were doing, but the team always had team underwear. And
you might have to explain that.
They always bought that team bought team underwear.
Oh.
And they always wore the same pair. All the girls had the matching pair for the games. They made him wear them. And I made him wear them. I said, you will go with the team. It's part of the spirit. And so those were the team underwear that they were holding up. And that was the one, because Rita said...
This was the pep session we had probably...
Right before you went to
Right before we left? I think it was Thursday night.
Right before we left.
Maybe Friday morning before we left.
And Rita had asked Allie, would you hold these underwear up and ask your dad what they're for? And it was the pair.
Oh, yeah.
And Rita. Another good thing, looking at this, you're correct, was we had that group of senior boys. We didn't have any cheerleaders. They didn't really support female teams back then. Mm-hmm. But we had a group of guys that were there every game, cheering, supporting. So when we went to state, because you can send your cheerleaders down on the floor, you asked, these are our cheerleaders. Can we have them on the floor? And they let that group of boys on the floor, and they cheered. And
that's Betsy's brother. One of Betsy's brothers, Shelly Miller's brother, who was on the team.
Is that a Bell?
Yeah, it must have been.
It's Kyle.
Kyle Bell.
And so she was dressed for that game too. Tracy was.
So you must have had we just got to know Gail pretty well too.
She was an assistant coach when I was in high school. When I was a senior in high school, she was my assistant coach for volleyball.
So what was she like as a coach for you?
Same as she is always. Gail Perry is Gail Perry. And it was great. I got along with her really well.
Yeah, my wife has a special place in her heart for me too, so yeah.
She's hard, but you learn to respect her, and she's really great. And if you listen to what she says, she is so knowledgeable.
Yeah. And she comes across gruff sometimes, but I think deep down she cares for every one of those girls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty obvious that she cares. I know she's already told, because I think I don't know if I should say this, but I can edit it out.
Do you remember that conversation?
I do. And it was Concord, 7th grade year. Okay with it. It's time. You don't want to miss your girls playing and miss their lives being over here. And you'd had a good run.
Yeah.
You'd had a great time coaching, much success, and it was okay. I was okay with it. I have to admit, though, this year back into Black Swish with 5th and 6th graders, it was fun to be back in basketball. And I love volleyball. So he's been a volleyball coach for 10 years, and I love volleyball. But it was fun to be back with basketball.
She said on the way down today, she was like, I could see you coaching basketball again. I wouldn't mind you coaching basketball again. You don't need the stress, but...
How do you feel about that?
It was, doing it again this year with the younger kids. It was, you know, it's fun. I hadn't done it in so long, and I had done it for so long up to that point when I, you know, and I still coached 3 or 4 years after Triton with Coach Neff and the Northwood girls as our daughters were playing. So, but now it's been, you know, Casey's been out of school 8 or 9 years, and I wasn't their head coach.
Yeah.
So, and obviously Coach Neff had tremendous success as well as a Hall of Fame coach. And I don't know how much, other than in practice and stuff, instruction-wise, that I, you know, to me they were just during the games and practice they're another player. And I really tried hard not to say anything at home.
And you did a really good job with that.
And that's hard sometimes.
That's got to be tough.
The team is here, the home life is here. And the girls would say the same thing. You know, he kept it very separate. And it's funny things like you're saying, like even the connections. We saw Missy down in Indy years and years later. And Mark always has this whistle that he always did, you know, to give the girls like...
my fingers in my mouth.
No, you said, and all the girls knew that whistle. And like if they were playing, they'd turn around and see what he wanted. She was clear across the parking lot. And I said, that's Missy. And he goes, no, it's not. And I said, yeah, that's Missy. She whipped right around. It was like, I told you it was Missy. So we went over and we hadn't seen her for years at that point.
Oh, that's great.
She still knew that whistle. It's like, okay, there's a connection there.
For me, it's just, I think my girls being around the girls that I coached, you know, made them better athletes when they got, I mean, I think they were blessed with some athletic ability when they, you know, were born, but.
From Jenny, right?
Absolutely.
Whose pictures at Manchester?
But they, you know, they knew already what it was like to be a part of a team, a successful team, and most of the teams that they played on at Northwood, you know, were very successful. So I mean, they got to experience, you know, not a state championship, but I think both of them were able to be at least in a semi-state, and you know, experience that success, and you know, get to feel it as a player as opposed to just, you know, hanging out with the girls and their dad.
And I think mine has been the connections we made. We lived in a different community, which was sometimes hard, but still even the Napanee community supported us the whole way through those tournaments. But by going far in the tournaments, it brought more and more people in. Well, I started meeting more and more people with that, and we've kept a lot of connections, you know, and I'll still see somebody and they'll say, oh, remember me from when we were at the state game or something like that. And I think it's all the connections we have, and we still have them. And the community was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And even people like Bill Moriarty, you know, he was his bus driver for every game. Well, you're not going to take a charter bus to state. You're going to take Bill Moriarty. So, you know, even that connection there with him, we just made sure we always
He was
had
our driver for years.
for everything. And you weren't going to give that up to the state games even.
Yeah.
Do you miss the bus rides?
No, I'm still taking them though. When I'm finally said and done with coaching, that'll be.
And that
Of
was
course, I'll probably be working with her on her bus.
yeah, there you go. And the scary part though, in state, you have a police escort, and that bus had to stay with the police. So we're flying through everywhere,
Bill did a great job.
whipping around everywhere,
He's a
and
pro.
Bill had to keep up with him. I'm like, going, okay. You just
That's
see
probably fun for the girls, though, right?
Oh.
They loved it.
oh, especially and after we won, they were all screaming out the windows.